action, making connections. I'm your host, Annie, and I'm joined here today with Alex Halpin.
Yeah.
He is a plumbing expert.
Oh, yeah.
Alex, how are you today?
I mean, it's Friday. I can't complain.
Friday's great, isn't
Payday.
it? That's true.
Weekend. We're good to go.
Heck yeah, I love that. Perfect. We're just here to ask you a few questions that homeowners might have. So are you ready for that?
Oh, yeah. We're here to take action and make connections, so.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to it. So tell us about yourself. How long have you been in the industry?
Almost 6 years now. Started back in 2018, so yeah, 6 years.
6 years.
6 years this summer.
And what do you feel like you've learned most over those 6 years?
Man, that's a tough question. I'd probably have to say just communicating with customers in very stressful situations. You go into a lot of homes where their water lines are burst and flooding their home. Water heaters flooded their home. Not a good situation for a homeowner to be in, as I can attest to that. So just being able to communicate with them about things being able to be fixed and be taken care of. So
yeah, absolutely. Helping to calm someone's nerves.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Why did you choose this field?
I feel like this field chose me, in a sense to say. My dad was an appliance guy my whole life growing up. Told me I should work with my hands. Never wanted to believe him. Went and did phone calls for 15 years in a call center. Dead-end job. They were closing business. My best friend was working here and said, hey, come try it out. It'll change our lives. And 6 years later, it's definitely changed my life. So
it all started with action.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So
that's amazing. And you enjoy it? I mean, when I think of plumber, it's not the prettiest job.
I mean, it's kind of got a false, what's the word, connotation? I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but people think it's as dirty as it sounds. Yeah, it is sometimes, but it's not like we're playing in poo every day, per se.
That's good.
So.
That's good. What does an average workday look like for you?
In all honesty, in my opinion, it starts the night before, just mentally prepping myself, getting my lunch ready, whatever it may be. Morning of, or if I have to clean shave, which I didn't today, I apologize. But usually maybe cleaning myself up a little bit, getting into the office about 7:30, and then just banging calls out all day long, helping people out, and getting back home about dinner time. So
in your normal day, what issues would you say that you see the most of?
It's so hit and miss with plumbing. I mean, a huge thing we see, obviously, there's a lot of water heaters. We see probably a couple water heaters every single day that are either failing, leaking, something happening with them where we have to bring them back up to snuff, per se, bring it up to code and get it working again. Leaky pipes are another big thing, like random leaks in the home that pop up here, but the leak's coming from way over here. I'd say those are probably the two main things we deal with.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've always personally wondered, I've heard a lot of horror stories about water and lights. How does that happen?
That's most likely, so when I'm not a drywall guy, but when they hang their drywall, if you've got a canned light, it's recessed up into the ceiling per se, right? There's a hole cut inside of that drywall where that light sits. Water will always find we call it the path of least resistance. If there's a hole in the drywall, that's a spot where it can essentially leak through a lot easier than trying to soak through said ceiling, So it'll usually just find where either two drywall seams have met and leak there, or potentially a canned light or something, some type of light fixture. So
that's kind of what you mean by the leak happening over here, but really the issue's here.
Yeah, it could start here, but if the ceiling has any small slope at all, we all know that water goes downhill, so it'll follow that path essentially of least resistance, and then once it settles, that's when it'll start leaking through.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do. I really like that. What would you say people misunderstand the most about your position in the field?
Honestly, probably the fact that a lot of people like yourself, like right when you first asked, think that it's a lot dirtier job than it is. I'm not saying it's not dirty by all means, but we have obviously like certain things in place to keep us clean, gloves. We wear shoebies in homes if we need to put on like a full suit to say get in a crawl space that's infested with spiders because water lines are in crawl spaces. We have to do that. Unfortunately, I'm the lucky guy that signed up for it, so.
Well, I mean, you're small enough to fit anywhere. I'm sure they stick you in those crawl spaces a lot.
I unfortunately get stuck with all the crawl space jobs because of my stature, yes. So, unfortunately.
I mean, whatever works. You do the hard stuff, right?
I mean, it pays the bills. It pays the bills, to say the least.
I like that. Okay. What would you say are some common myths about your job and your field?
Myths, I'd probably have to say, like right off the top, drain cleaning. That's probably a big one. A lot of people think you've got a big 4-inch pipe, and our drain auger machines, the cable on there is literally no thicker than my thumb. It's only a 1/2 inch big. You stick a cable in a big 4-inch pipe, you really think it's going to clean it? That's probably one of the biggest myths or misconceptions even with plumbing is what I would say, is just drain cleaning in general. We have other alternatives to actually scour drains now to where it scrubs wall to wall. But in hindsight, if there is an issue with the pipe, yeah, it's pretty small. It's only a 1/2 inch.
Yeah, no, I keep looking at my thumb.
Yeah, you're not cleaning that pipe. I'm sorry to say.
So then what does it do?
I mean, it really, in all honesty, in my opinion, you're poking a hole is really all you're doing. It is designed to grab stuff. So say you have roots out in your main line, like out in your yard, it is designed to grab and retrieve those. At the same time, if you think of a like clay pot, that could destroy the clay pot if you rip the roots from the outside. So we explain the same to our customers. Usually though, if there is a structural problem with their pipe, the cable's not gonna fix anything anyways. They're gonna probably have to replace part of their sewer at that point.
Okay.
So.
Is that something you see a lot of?
Every single day. Every single day. It's multiple times a day in all honesty. So.
What do you think are some causes for the most seen issues?
Like with drains in general?
In your field, plumbing. The issues you see the most, what are some potential causes to them?
I mean, here in Utah, one of my biggest things that I see is we have everywhere from as far as we go north Logan to as far south as we go Payson, we have hard water everywhere in the state. So people coming from out of state, even people that have lived here their whole life, they don't understand how hard water can affect their water system, their faucets, their fixtures, all their appliances that their water's touching, washing machines, washers, like laundry washers. Hard water it destroys it from the inside out. It'll give your 10-year water heater life expectancy or 8-year water heater life expectancy. It pretty much can cut it in half with hard water. So.
And what are some ways to avoid the damages that hard water causes?
We've got a bunch of types of systems in place, like filtration systems, water softening systems. They make salt systems, saltless systems. There's a bunch of different types of filters that they make now that'll help bring down the ppm that's within the water, essentially like the sediment that's within it. They've got ionizers, which will help suspend minerals in water. So I mean, there's a bunch of different things we could do. It's just a matter of coming out, testing the water, and seeing what fits best for that situation, for how their water is from the city water supply, essentially.
What are the best pieces of advice that you have for homeowners?
When it comes to plumbing, I'd probably have to say just staying up on it, in all honesty, like actually doing proper maintenance, having a plumber come out, if not once a year, twice a year, maybe once in the spring, once in the fall, make sure all systems are basically firing at their best capabilities. The last thing you want, from my experience, is a catastrophic issue happening where we're coming in and it's worst possible case scenario, walls collapsed because of a flood that's been going on for months. Yeah, I've seen worst possible case scenario like that. So probably just keeping up on it is the best advice I could give a homeowner, being a homeowner myself. Really just getting a professional to get eyes on it, make sure it's, like I said, running at its best capability.
Yeah. What are some signs there are issues? Because I mean, me personally, my fridge was leaking for probably 6 months, and we didn't notice it until the water had ended up in the basement. So that's a lot of traveling to do, and it destroyed lots of things. So like, how can we look out for the warning signs?
I mean, with a fridge line like that, it's in all honesty, you usually don't catch those until it's too late. 6 months. I mean, I feel like there was maybe a sign. It's hard to say. I wasn't at your home. I didn't get to see like the damage that was caused per se.
I'm sure there was bubbling.
There may have been bubbling in the paint, maybe even like on a corner of where the drywall and the ceiling meets. There could have been some bubbling that maybe you just missed per se. Maybe you're not constantly looking at your ceiling to look for a leak though either.
I've learned my lesson there. Look at the ceiling.
Sometimes you'll notice a puddle under the fridge, but again, going back to how water flows, if there's a slope going, say, away from the fridge, if your fridge opens from like this wall this way and the tile is slanting back towards that wall, you'll probably never see said puddle. So you probably won't see that leak until it's coming through the ceiling down below, unfortunately. Ways to like stay up on that type of stuff, that's kind of tough. Maybe your water bill increased, maybe.
Is there like regular maintenance you can do on your like drains and appliances to keep them in check?
On your drains, we would definitely recommend, it's something that we have, most plumbers actually carry it. It's a professional drain cleaner. It's called Total C. It's not like oh crap, my drain's plugged, let's go dump a bottle of this cleaner in there and hopefully it cleans it out, like your classic Drano and like acidic type cleaners. It's more of a preventative maintenance type cleaning for the drains. So it'll just help eat away like the bad bacteria that grow inside of your drains, and it also coats the pipe with like I've always called it a boogery substance because people can relate to that. It's like a slip and slide type thing, just helps things drain better.
That's gross.
So yeah, but it's great for the drain. So yeah.
Yeah. It helps hair just like go down, or food waste, or
Yeah, food waste where it grows bacteria over time, it'll actually start coagulating within the pipe. So you'll get your like 2-inch drain will now be a 1.5-inch drain because you'll have like a layer of biosludge, is what we call it, essentially growing within the pipe. So the Total C can help essentially clean that out if you're using it regularly.
So the Total C then, does it like eat away at that bacteria like completely, or?
I mean, I wouldn't say
like?
completely. I mean, depending on how bad your drain is. Let's say your drain is completely blocked off, the Total C is not going to clean it out. You'll probably need to have some type of drain cleaning service done, like a hydrojet, to really scour that pipe clean, and then start using the Total C as a preventative maintenance, where the sludge, after you've cleaned it out with the hydrojetter, the sludge will not build up per se if you're using it regularly. So
The bio sludge.
Yes. I always reference it to customers as grease. I get a lot of customers saying, I don't dump grease down my drain. I'm like, I get it, I don't either, but if I were to pull my drains apart, I bet you I could show you something that looks like grease. So
That makes a lot of
it's
sense.
bio grease is what we call it.
Yeah. Are there any weather conditions or seasons that are worse for your line of work?
Worse? I mean, winter in Utah, where obviously the elements play a part with water lines freezing and such. Yeah, I would say winter is probably worse. It's not the fact that it's winter that's worse. It's when the thaw happens, because pipes will stay frozen during the winter, but once it starts warming up, you have a frozen pipe that's expanded because of the ice, and then once it thaws, the pipe is already expanded, so it's actually already cracked. Once it thaws, water leaks out, you have an issue. So I'd probably say spring is like the worst part.
Yeah, worst time-ish for
Yeah.
homeowners.
Yeah.
How can a homeowner, like what can someone do now to avoid that?
I'd probably have to say, just again, getting a professional in the house, getting eyes on it. They make hose bibs that are anti-freeze now, so as long as you have an anti-freeze hose bib, your hose is disconnected before the winter, it will actually drain itself back into the home. So the casing of where the hose bib plumbs into the water line, it actually will, like I said, drain back to the water line, so it will not freeze. So there's new fixtures, I guess, that have been made over the years to help avoid things like this to happen per se. So they have like the anti-freeze, anti-siphon hose bibs. You can also put shutoffs in front of your hose bib if you're very worried about it, or if you have an older hose bib where we can actually shut that valve so no water supply is going to that hose bib anymore, so it won't freeze. So a couple different things you could do, but definitely get someone like ourselves, a professional in there, get some eyes on it.
Absolutely. And then what's one thing that you think homeowners should know that most really don't?
The biggest thing is probably just flushing your water heater. A lot of customers aren't aware that you need to flush your water heater. You'll get sediment building up at the base of it. It gives you a less life expectancy because the tank is overheating. You now get less gallon capacity. You'll be running out of hot water faster. There's just a bunch of things that go with when you don't flush your water heater that can essentially kill the appliance years before it should expect to live.
So what do you do when you flush a water heater?
That's actually very simple. In most cases, you're in a utility room where there's a floor drain nearby. If there's not a floor drain, you can get some buckets and dump the water into the buckets. At the base of the tank water heaters, it's a drain, essentially, is what I've always called it, but some of them are full port ball valves, some of them are just quarter turn ball valves, but we hook up a hose connection to that, just like your watering hose that you use outside, and from that hose you run that to the drain, open up the valve, let water run through the system for just a couple minutes because your sediment builds at the bottom. So as long as you're flushing some water out, say for 2-3 minutes, you're probably going to get, for the most part, the sediment out. If you've waited too long to flush the water heater though, if you're on like year 5, that sediment is most likely calcified to the tank at that point. You're not too late to start flushing it, but you have to take into account that there is going to be hardened sediment in the tank that you'll never be able to get out at that point. So.
And that will lead you to replacing your water heater a lot sooner.
Sooner than later, absolutely.
That makes sense, and definitely something I can see people would want to avoid.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to replace a water heater for thousands of dollars right now, so.
No, very inconvenient time.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
So
let's say I'm a renter, and my landlord's looking for the cheapest option for fixing a serious problem I have, as far as like smelly, stinky, gross drains, and they don't want to have a professional out. What's something that I can do to help my problematic drains?
you could try, again, like a drain cleaner. That's probably your best bet if your landlord unfortunately doesn't want to really fix said problem. I would do, again, the Total C. That's the best type of drain cleaner you can get that's not over the counter if you were to go to like Home Depot or something, right? It's only professionals carry it, only plumbing companies can actually access it. So I would say getting a hold of us and just saying, hey, can I buy a bottle of that Total C or that drain cleaner that you guys supply? That's probably your best bet.
That makes a lot of sense.
until the landlord wants to fix
Fix the issue.
the issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
What would you say is something that only a licensed professional should ever touch in my plumbing systems versus something I may be able to do myself?
I would never recommend a homeowner to cut into the actual main water supply. So anytime you have like a leak on your water line system or your incoming system versus your drainage system, I would absolutely call a professional, call action. If you have maybe a P-trap that needs cleaned out, I feel like that's something an average homeowner could definitely do. Most P-traps are, I don't know if you're aware, but they're just two little tubular nuts. They're compression tightened, so we don't use anything special to water seal that. There is a gasket that will seal it, but it's connected to the tubular in a sense to say, so as long as you don't lose that gasket, I think cleaning out P-traps, slow showers are something that most homeowners could honestly do as well. Most of the time what you'll see is, in a woman's case, my daughter's case, my daughter has hair and I find that I don't know if she just loses hair or what it may be.
It just kind of sheds.
I don't know if it's natural for women to just shed, but yes. she gets I should say at our home get an excess of hair in our shower drain, so that's something an average homeowner I feel like can do. Flushing their water heater, something very simple, but also very crucial in your plumbing system that a homeowner can do. There's a few different things that I could think of. Winterizing your faucets, like your hose spigots, so making sure that your hose is disconnected before winter comes. You can even grab one of the little insulation covers that you can put on the outside of it. That's, in my opinion, as long as you have an antifreeze and your hose is disconnected, you don't really need that, but it's an extra step that will protect your system from freezing. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
What's something you would say that you've learned while working in the field that you think every homeowner should know?
Basic drain cleaning. Like, to give you an example again about a shower drain, I have a 16-year-old daughter and I make her clean our shower drain instead of paying a company to come out, whether they have a advertisement for a coupon, for a drain cleaning coupon, or you're paying them full price, which could be a couple $100 to a few $100 for someone like us to come out and do a professional drain clean on your shower. It's something a homeowner could do within 10-15 minutes, and it could help it drain better potentially if it's just hair that's stuck in the waste. So definitely probably the shower drain clean is the biggest thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How often, so my shower personally backs up probably every 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And then we snake it and pull hair out, and then we have another maybe 3 to 6 months. What's a way we can avoid that?
You might.
It's a lot of drain cleaning.
That running a snake that often on a drain is not a good thing at the end of the day, in all honesty. I would definitely look into maybe doing a hydrojetter, depending on what type of material those drains are made of. If it is an older galvanized drain, that would make a lot of sense to me, because galvanized is, the best way I can explain it, a bunch of metal that's compressed together to give it like a set thickness, and over time you'll get the galvanized, we call it flaking away, so it'll start to deteriorate from the inside, and when it's flaking it'll turn into what I call little claws, and those claws catch everything. Hair will intertwine around it, and then you're washing your body, washing your hair, you get the soap scum that goes down. That soap scum now collects onto the hair, and your problem just continuously gets worse. So depending on the materials,
I should really have drain cleaner out.
you may need a repipe. Definitely look into hydrojetting though. That's something that'll help really scour the pipe and help reopen it up, where again the cable doesn't do much. It was designed to give you temporary relief. That's what it was made for over 100 years ago when the first sewer snake was designed, is to literally just poke a hole and give you temporary relief. So
makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you, but we do have some common questions that other people have asked that I would love to ask you as well.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, let me just get into that. So Alex, one person asked, why do I run out of hot water so quickly?
Why do you run out of hot water so quickly? My first guess, you have an old water heater. My second guess is you haven't flushed your water heater. My third guess is a combination of both. My fourth guess is you don't have a water softener helping protect the system. So
It's a lot of guesses.
yeah, without going and putting my eyes on the system to see, like said, age and whatnot, what could be some potential issues, I would say off the top of my head it's going to be age. Sediment on a close second. Sediment that builds up in the bottom of the tank will, you have a 50-gallon water heater, when you first buy it, in a couple years, if sediment's building in the base, you're now losing maybe 5 gallons, 10 gallons of water capacity, so that 50-gallon water heater is now a 40-gallon water heater or potentially less.
That makes a lot of sense. I can see how that's an issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big issue.
absolutely. Another question we have here is my water bill recently appears to be rather high, and none of my faucets are leaking. Is there anything else that could be causing the sudden increase?
That's actually a very common thing we see. You'll have old water systems in Utah. Utah was founded over 150 years ago. A lot of those original systems have been taken out, but we do still find homes like mine. It's 1930s, has galvanized from the city coming into my home. That's an 80-year-old system, so that could be leaking. Potentially it's a leak out in your main water line, which unfortunately as a homeowner we are responsible for. From the meter, once it hits the meter, the city meter, where the city can shut it off from their system to your home, once it leaves that meter, we're responsible as homeowners all the way from that point to the connection inside of our home. Another very common thing I see when water bills spike like that, if it's not like a fixture leaking like you had mentioned, shower head leaking that has a constant drip, definitely a toilet. You could have a flapper in your toilet that's starting to deteriorate, so it's just allowing water to trickle through slowly. One thing I would check is to see if you can hear your toilet constantly filling throughout the day or throughout the night when you're not using it. If you're hearing the toilet refill itself, that's definitely where it could be coming from, is the toilet.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That could be a major problem as
Yeah.
well. I can see that.
When you're tripling your water bill in 1 month, that is not a fun problem.
Absolutely not. Couldn't imagine. Our next question for you here today is, what should I do if I have a major water leak in my home?
First things first, shut the water off. If you're unsure of where to shut the water off, the city is always the next good option. If a plumber can't get out there ASAP, obviously the city, they have guys that'll come out and shut their meter off. Definitely get a hold of Action though. We'll get out there same day. We usually guarantee same day service on big issues like that when someone's out of water service, so definitely give us a call and we'll get you taken care of.
That makes a lot of sense. Sounds like Action is very good about taking action.
Taking action and making connections.
Is it safe to use chemical drain cleaners?
Absolutely not.
Why?
So the chemical, if the clog is bad enough where the drain cleaner cannot flow through the pipe, it's gonna eat away whatever's in its way, and if it's not flowing, what's it eating? The pipe. So in my opinion, no. I would never, ever, ever recommend using an acid-based cleaner like Drano, Liquid Plumber. They sell one that's in a bag from Home Depot. It's literally comes in a bag. That kind of, as a consumer, I don't think I would want to purchase that, knowing that it's that acidic that it's the bottle is in a bag. So
Yeah, I can see how that would be scary. What can I put down my garbage disposal? And what should I never put down my garbage disposal?
that's a very good question. I feel like garbage disposals have a bad rap because as advertised, you can on some of them, you can throw down full pots of soup, they say. You can throw down pretty much anything and the garbage disposal will do its job and mince it up. On the flip side of that, coming from a plumber's point of view, the drain cannot handle that. The drain will plug. I would honestly say don't really throw anything down your disposal. A lot of people think you can throw lemon wedges, orange wedges to get like a better smell. Those are terrible to throw down the drain. Well, the disposal will take it again. The drain will not. Eggshells, I've heard people throw those down. Definitely not a good thing. I have a horror story with an eggshell job that I...
Please tell me, because I was told to do that to clean my drain.
So the eggshell job that I remember, we were out there, they had a kitchen sink that was not draining at all. It was actually it was an upstairs kitchen sink. They had an upstairs laundry next to it, and they had a floor drain in that laundry room as like an overflow drain. In case the laundry failed, it would drain into that drain. Well, that floor drain was backing up biosludge and food debris, essentially.
Back to biosludge.
So we tried drain cleaning the kitchen. We knew at that point the kitchen sink and that floor drain from the laundry room tied to the same drain. So we ended up snaking the floor drain, but running the snake down so many feet, it felt like it was hitting what I call a hypothetical wall. It will not progress, and it's just binding up on itself. So it's actually, when I'm holding forward on our trigger, it should be progressing out of the machine, but it looks like it's coming out of the drain, if that makes sense. So we told the customers we need to try a different type of cleaning. We tried jetting it to see if the jetter could, essentially it shoots out 3,000, 4,000 pounds of pressure. It could honestly cut my fingers clean off if I were to direct the water pressure on my fingers. So it's a lot of pressure. It cleans out the pipe, scours the pipe. We tried jetting it. Jetting it would not get through it either. Felt like it was again, hypothetical wall. At that point, in my experience, I had 3-4 years experience at this point. I had no other, thought in my head that the pipe was broken. There's no way I can get my cable through it. There's no way I can get my jetter through it. There's got to be a structural issue with the pipe where it's maybe offset, broken, collapsed on itself, who knows. So we got a camera over there to camera the line. Again, it's still full of water. We can't see really what's going on in there, but we get the camera to a certain point and the camera stops. It will not progress. Line's still full of water. We know there's still an issue. Camera guy thought the pipe was broken as well, so we end up having to dig it ended up being their master bedroom, unfortunately. We had to tear up half of their master bedroom, so it displaced them from their room that they're usually sleeping in. And we replaced where the kitchen line tied into the main sewer. There's a Y fitting, is what we call that. From that Y fitting, about 4 feet back, was a wall of eggshells. Tiny little granulated pieces of eggshells.
How thick was it? I mean, if your jetter couldn't get through.
The pipe, or
the wall of eggshells.
So the pipe is 2 inches in diameter, in inner diameter, right? That whole 2 inches was compacted full for about 3 to 4 feet of eggshells.
Of eggshells.
Yes. Yes. Wild. It was one of the wildest.
And it cut them off. They were tiny. They just.
Oh yeah, the disposal did its job. The drain cannot handle it, to go back to that. So I would.
That's a lot of eggshells. You think that's years of eggshells being dumped down the drain?
Potentially, yeah. They were very fit customers. They were actually both in, I want to say, like some type of special forces, if I remember right. And they were explaining that they each ate 6 to 10 eggs every morning.
That's a lot of eggs.
So it could have been a month worth of eggs for how many eggs they were eating. It could have been years, yes.
Well, that's terrifying. I'll make sure never to grind up eggs in my garbage disposal again. Thanks so much for that story. That was great.
Absolutely.
Our next question, what causes our water heater to make a loud rumbling noise?
The nice popping and knocking noise coming from the old classic water heater. That, again, is due to sediment. Sediment will build at the bottom when the tank heats to get the tank back to what temperature you have your gas valve set at, your gas control valve. Essentially, it's overheating at that point because the sediment settles at the bottom. The cold water from the inlet pushes all the way to the bottom. Hot rises. That's physics, I want to say. Science. I don't know. Albert Einstein, whoever did that. So essentially, the tank is overheating, and what you're hearing is the heating through the sediment that's built up. So as that sediment, keep in mind, it's settled, it's rock hard in some cases. When the heat is heating it, it's expanding the sediment, and so you're gonna hear popping, knocking. Some people say it's coffee percolating is what I've heard it made a sound as. It's definitely probably time to replace at that point.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, who wants to be kept up at night by their water heater of all things, right?
Yes, and there's obviously worse things that could happen. You don't want your tank overheating. They do have valves that help protect the tank itself, but if it does overheat, your safety valve could pop, which if it's not near a floor drain or if you don't have slope going towards your floor drain, you're now flooding your house. So,
which is never a good thing, right? Would hate to flood my house.
Never
Totally
a good thing.
So,
very, very stressful.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine the kind of stress some people go through with
Very stressful.
the issues.
Yeah.
Our next question, what causes my drains to gurgle?
Ooh, that's a good one. Gurgling drains. So, most likely something wrong with the main sewer. Mm-hmm. Not always is that the case. Sometimes it's a venting issue where maybe your vent that goes up through your roof is partially blocked. I've seen only once, but I have seen it where squirrels have grabbed little pine needles. Maybe birds, we don't know. Squirrels or birds, one of the two. There was definitely both on the property. But where they've dropped pine needles into the vent to essentially try to form a nest. We've seen that happen where it's blocked off the vent. The best way I can explain how that would cause gurgling or bubbling is if you have a cup of water, full cup of water, and you grab a straw, put it in the cup of water and you cap the top of it and pull it out, how it's airlocked inside of that straw. Once you let go of the top, it drains. That's kind of the best way I could explain it. So if your vent is plugged with, say, pine needles in this instance, the drain will be like if you're looking at the bottom of the straw, you'll notice it will dribble out slowly. It's going to be like bloop, bloop, bloop. The same instance happens in drains. If you have structural issues in your main sewer where your pipe has, we call it bellied, over a certain amount of feet, that belly will hold sewage, water, and won't allow the drains to drain properly. That will also cause bubbling noises in your drain. So
Gurgling.
yeah.
I like it. Well, obviously I don't like it. That would be another nightmare, honestly.
Yes.
I can't imagine.
Very stressful situations again when we come out and tell you the only way to fix it is we have to dig up your yard.
Yeah, I can only imagine how much of a shock that comes to a lot of people.
Yeah, you're investing a lot of money in order to make sure your sewage system and your plumbing system's working, and it's not like you have a brand new car to go show your best friend like, hey, look how cute my car is, or whatever it may be. It's, hey, you can go flush my toilet and I just paid a lot of money to fix my sewer line, but you can't see how pretty it is.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
it's just a sewer line.
And it's usually 6 to 12, 15 feet deep in some cases, so it's nothing you can really show off to your friends. We will make a video for you if you like, and show it off to your friends like during Christmas parties or Thanksgiving parties and show them how beautiful your liner is. So
The nice
we will do that.
blue liner.
Yeah, we will do that. So
I mean, they do actually, a lot of videos on TikToks will show people shooting liners, and it
Yes.
looks really cool watching liners.
satisfying.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
Definitely. So people do, you could get one of those and be like,
Yeah.
watch how satisfying me fixing my plumbing is. Yay!
Yes. We do it. We will do it.
I love that. What should I do if my sink is draining slowly?
If your sink is draining slowly, one quick thing you could try to do is clean out your P-trap. Again, that's those two tubular nuts underneath the sink itself. You can just drop those. Make sure you have a bucket under there, because those do hold water. They're designed to. It stops sewer gases from coming in the home.
Great.
But what you could do is just drop the nuts, drop the P-trap, clean out your P-trap. Sometimes it'll build up bacteria in it. Sometimes if it's like a bathroom sink, there's where you've got your stopper on the sink, there's a little stopper arm that actually like shoots into the drain, and hair will catch on that. Sometimes it's just hair that's caught on that. Obviously, if it's more than the average homeowner can tackle, give us a call, we'll come out and we'll get you taken care of.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a tank water heater and a tankless one?
Ooh, it's kind of in its name.
No.
You have a tank. No, I'm just kidding. So a tank,
Thank you.
a tank water heater. You see in more new builds today, what we see happening is a lot of systems are going to what we call high efficient units, where they're not as wasteful per se. When you have a tank, like your normal tank water heater, atmospheric water heater, whatever you want to call it, the average homeowner knows it as a tank water heater. When you go to bed and you're not using your hot water, that system constantly is heating and cooling itself off, right? The tankless water heaters, those are very, very awesome machines. I've got one in my home. It's more of some people have heard them called instant hot water heaters. Are they instant? Yes, but there is a misconception on that. It's not, if I go open my tap, it's not instantly hot. It's instantly heating the water as that cold water passes through the tankless system, but it's still going to take the time from when I open that tap to push out all of the water from the tankless to wherever this tap is. So it might take 20 seconds for that temperature to get to the fixture, but it is more of a what I would call like on-demand hot water. Way more efficient, way better for the environment in my opinion, because you are burning off less gas. It's 97-98% efficient versus a tank water heater is only 70 to 80% efficient. So
And I can use more than 50 gallons of water.
absolutely. You could take a 2-hour long shower and you never run out of hot water. You can fill a deep soak tub without having to run your whole tank out of hot water. I have a lot of customers that have deep soak tubs and they cannot fill it to the temperature they want with a tank water heater. So
Yeah, you're dumping the whole tanked water heater in there.
absolutely.
And then some.
And then some.
Yeah, no, that makes, a lot of sense. And then, so we've talked in this episode, we've talked a lot about water heater flushes. What does that look like for a tanked water heater?
For a tankless, you mean?
Sorry, yes, a tankless water heater.
Yeah. So we actually have there's a kit they make. It's a tankless flush kit, but you have a submersible pump. You dump a solution into a bucket with some distilled water, a gallon of distilled water with a quart of this. Essentially, it's a descaling solution because the water in Utah, again, is very hard. Even when you have a conditioning system on, like in front of the tankless system, you'll still get some mineral buildup inside of the heat exchanger. So the manufacturers of the tankless systems, they recommend you do a descaling flush once a year. So it's a little bit more invasive than the average tank flush. Is it something a homeowner can do? absolutely. If they can take the time to hook up a couple hoses and know which valves they need to shut on their isolation kit, which we will actually teach all of our homeowners that purchase a tankless system from us how to do their tankless flush so they can properly maintain it and keep their warranty good. It's definitely something doable, just more invasive than the average, hey, I'm gonna hook a hose up, open the drain for 2 minutes and I'm done. Because the tankless flush takes about, from start to finish, when I get to the home, anywhere from 45 minutes to about an hour and a half. So
Yeah, definitely sounds a bit more complicated than just the basic water heater flush.
yeah, there's
Absolutely.
more to it per se, but again, the average homeowner can probably do it. It is something we teach a lot of our homeowners how to do so that they don't have to pay us every year to come out and flush it to keep it maintained, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Okay, and then I think, yep, we just have one final question for you.
ooh, save the best for last?
Yeah, absolutely. How do I know where the leak is in my main water line? Or just in general, how do I know?
That's a good one. There's equipment that they make where you can actually pinpoint where a leak is coming from. That equipment is very, very, very expensive. So if it's in like your main water line, again, outside, somewhere in your yard, typically we'll just recommend fixing the entire line. We don't like to do a what we call a quote unquote Band-Aid fix on a main water line, because if it's leaking in one section of that main water line, it's most likely going to start leaking in another section of that main water line. It's the same age pipe. It's most likely deteriorated the same type of way that where the leak started from. So to go to pinpoint it, you do need specialty equipment. Most plumbing companies actually don't have that equipment available. There's, in the state of Utah that I know of, there's one company that can actually do like pinpoint leak locating. They also don't fix the problem, they just do the quote unquote Band-Aid fix as far as I know. So to find it though, to answer your question, might be, I don't want to say impossible, but without the right equipment, very, very hard.
Absolutely.
So
Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions today. It was wonderful making connections with you. And thank you all for taking action. If you have any questions at all, just leave a comment on whatever platform you're on and we'll stick it into one of our videos with one of our certified technicians and all of their knowledge.
yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.